You're listening to the Grind Line Podcast.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grind Line Podcast. I'm your host, Greg. You're listening to episode 345. I am here tonight with Tyler. Ryan is on dad duty since his wife is at the game. How you doing tonight, Tyler?
I'm doing good. It's good to be back. I finally have a setup here that allows me to do what I need to do and not have to fight with it half as much as I have been. Glad that we're almost at hockey season. I mean, we're obviously at the preseason, but we're almost at the point where these things start to count for real and we start to see what kind of hockey team we have. The preseason has been fun for the most part, although man, they just look so fucking tired.
Yeah, the guys are gassed. They are currently losing 2-0 to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Second intermission right now. I mean, you can tell they've played so many games in so little time. They played 3 days in a row. Emmitt Finnie has played most of these games. I don't know how he is still skating. They just look like they want to get on to the regular season. So I'm not really taking score into account in these past couple games. There's been a lot of time on the ice. There's been a lot of travel. It's really good just for coaches to get a look at these guys and I guess pressure test them, see how much time they can play before they break. And it looks like some of them are starting to get to that point. But we have a couple games to talk about. And then we had Max Bultman put out an article today basically projecting what he thinks the lineup will look like on night one based on right now in the preseason. But we're going to start. The game against Pittsburgh was a 3-2 loss on the 26th. So we had 2 goals from John Leonard. We had an assist from Wallander. We had an assist from Danielson, an assist from Alexander Doucette. The bad news is that Nate Danielson seems to have gotten hurt, I think, at the game against Buffalo. So he has the current injury. Took a pretty nasty cross-check.
Yeah, not good. Especially, for a guy that is vying to try and make this team. That's not obviously not a good sign. Probably wouldn't be the worst for him to go to Grand Rapids for the first at least couple weeks of the season. Especially, I mean, now it's probably a given at this point that he's probably going to start in Grand Rapids. So I guess if there was any doubt of that, I mean, that's pretty much, I would say, in the cards, unless, for some reason he's back, for the next couple preseason games, but not in the lineup tonight, probably not going to be in the lineup tomorrow. I guess maybe the next closest would be Thursday, but at that point, why even risk it? If it's anything serious, I mean, taking a cross check is not a good thing, especially in the preseason where these games are. The results aren't important, but the way they play is important, and I don't like the way that they've played the last couple. First 2 were good, and the last 3 now, because of tonight, have not been good. So.
Yeah, Todd even said that what they're trying to work on now is implementing systems. He says they have a pretty good idea of he says you talk about different guys less as the season goes on and you keep talking. The longer the preseason goes on, the more you talk about a specific group of guys. So he thinks they have it nailed down into who's going to start and they got to start working on systems. But like I said, it's been hard because they played on the 25th. They played on the 26th. They played on the 27th, had 1 day off. They're playing tonight. They're playing tomorrow. Then they have a day off and they play Thursday. So it's a lot of hockey in a little bit of time. And I think that's why they have hesitated. You've seen other teams make cuts already. And that's why I think they've hesitated to make cuts is because they're playing such a condensed preseason schedule. Now, this will help. This will work its way out next season when they drop down to 4 games. But right now you're looking at these guys and you're like, what is going to happen? And then you look at the goalies like John Gibson that game, made 13 saves, 1 goal against on 14 shots. 928 save percentage. John Gibson, for all intents and purposes, has looked really good throughout preseason. And I know one of the goals of goalies in the preseason is just not get hurt before the regular season starts because, you want to be useful while your team is getting points. But John Gibson's looked really good. I think he's been a bright spot during this whole thing.
Especially him, who has battled a lot of injuries over the last couple of years.
And who you're depending on now.
It is imperative that he stays healthy. You talk about this team and having goals to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's a guy that is incredibly important, as are other players like Seider and Larkin and Raymond. But, he's right up there. If you say, if this guy gets injured, we are fucked. And John Gibson is right up there in that category, I would say.
Yeah, because I think the backup we were hoping, like the guy, it's like maybe he'll push, maybe he'll work his way in and push Cam Talbot out, was Kosa. And Kosa's game against Buffalo, again, I know goalies play to not hurt themselves in preseason, but his game against Buffalo was not very good. 16 saves, 4 goals against on 20 shots, an 800 save percentage. A couple he probably wanted back. There were, I mean, every goalie is going to face goals that they're like, yeah, like that is one there was no way. The spinning backhander on Gibson that he had no idea that was even going to be a shot. I can let a goal like that go and say there's no way any goalie in the league is going to save that. But Sebastian Kosa at times has looked a little bit rattled, has been out of position a bit. Maybe just it's the jitters or whatever it is, but I think that you've got to rely on Talbot basically this whole, like he might get a handful of games, but I think for the majority of the season, you're relying on Talbot as your backup. And if John Gibson goes down, I don't want Talbot being the starter.
No, I mean, in spot duty, okay, fine. If he gets hurt for, say, hopefully he doesn't. Let's obviously, we're hoping for good health for everybody, but um, say he does, I mean, I trust Talbot in short stints, um, couple games in a week or something like that. But you have to start relying on him for a month or a couple weeks. And then, Sebastian Kosa, who's essentially a rookie, comes up and is your backup goaltender. That's when you're in a little bit of trouble, I think. Now, the defense and the back end hopefully has been shored up a little bit. Obviously, they didn't add a whole lot, but we'll see. The biggest thing right now is like stay healthy, man. I mean, goaltending is one of their thinnest places, I believe.
Well, I'd say NHL level goal, like
NHL
NHL
level
ready
goaltending,
goaltending. Yeah. I mean, goaltending in general is one of their strong suits in the organization.
Yep.
And if you look at Rudy Guimond, who was at training camp, he started his season for the Moncton. He plays for Moncton, right? The Wildcats.
Right.
He made 63 saves in his first game of the season to be named the protector of the week for the CHL. Someone get that guy some defense, I guess is what I'm going to say. Like,
Yeah.
you should not be facing 63 shots, but he made 63 saves in his first action. He looked good. Carter Gylander has looked good at times. Michael Postava, who's the guy they just signed from the Czech League, has had a couple really strong performances. He did only make 4 saves, had 2 goals against in the game against Pittsburgh. He had a 667 save percentage. He came in as John Gibson halfway through. Gibson played the first half, Postava played the second half. But throughout the preseason, Postava looked good. The 5-2 loss against Buffalo, again, I'm not going to take a ton out of it, except for the defense kind of sucks. Kosa did not play a great game. Marco Kasper had a goal. Patrick Kane had a goal, so he got his first goal of the preseason. The DeBrincat Kasper Kane line has been so good, and I think will continue to be so good. And I think it completely gets rid of all of the talk that they might move Kasper up to the top line to play with Larkin and Raymond, simply because that second line is just so effective.
Yeah, and you talk about that Buffalo game. Probably not a lot of people got to watch that because there was so much college football on and baseball and everything. But um, you look at that lineup, like, and in the past you see the Red Wings traveling anywhere. They're not bringing Patrick Kane. I know Patrick Kane is a hometown kid in Buffalo and all that, but you're not bringing Marco Kasper. You're not bringing Michael Rasmussen. You're not bringing Andrew Kopp, but they did. And it didn't look good, but I will say one thing on the back end, very AHL, and Lagesson, Mitchell, Sandy Pellica, obviously you hope that at some point he pushes to make this roster, obviously probably not right out of training camp, but very inexperienced back end there. And, then you got some guys like Lombardi in there, Brandon Signegard as well. Appleton, obviously a fourth line grinder kind of player. And then you got Seager and you got other players that, again, don't have a lot of NHL experience against a Buffalo lineup. that played Tage Thompson and Isaac Rosen, who is going to be a rookie this year, and Zucker and Tuck and McLeod and Benson. I mean, they played, Byram and Dolly, essentially their entire NHL lineup. And Lyon played in net, which was ironic. But yeah, I mean, you can't take too much stock out of it other than, are the young guys progressing? Do they look good? And, what are they doing? Like, are they taking shifts off, that kind of thing? And I'm sure that's exactly what Steve Yzerman and the front office is looking at when it comes to these decisions.
Yeah, one guy that has not taken shifts off is Amadeus Lombardi. Now, he hasn't really been rewarded for a lot of it, but he is so fast and he makes moves on a dime. I think you just need to lock him in a room with Patrick Kane for a few days and just have Patrick Kane teach him like more advanced stick handling and stuff. But Amadeus Lombardi just makes some guys out there look absolutely silly. There was a play where he was entering, he was in the offensive zone and two guys kind of came in on him. He walked both of them, went right between them and got a shot off. And it's just the little moves he's able to make in space with just excellent timing is fantastic. I think he's going to be a really good mid to bottom six guy. They just need the space for him. So I don't think it's going to be this season. I do think it will be next season. He might be one of the first call-ups if there's an injury. That's another thing we talk about with Carter Mazer. Like, I don't think Carter Mazer has worked his way onto this roster, but a guy I think might work his way onto this roster, and we've talked about him the past 2 episodes, is Emmitt Finnie. And like I said, I don't know how he's playing this game. I'm pretty sure he's only missed one of the preseason games so far. But he's just night in, night out, puck hound on it, making good setups. He's making space for other guys. He's getting in space himself to get shots off, making just fantastic high IQ passes. And Todd's talked about him a ton. We'll also talk about that in the second half. But I just think that like he's got the motor. He's got no quit. I would not be surprised if he was on the opening night roster.
You have a comp for him?
A current comp for Emmitt Finnie? No, I'd be more comfortable comping him after he gets 10 or so NHL games. I want to see how he performs against full NHL lineups to try and comp him.
One that I think it was Merrick that said it. He said he reminds him a little bit of a younger Michael Bunting. Kind of a pain in the ass.
Michael Bunting in like 1605 when he was like 18 years old.
Right, but like that kind of player, like Zach Hyman, Michael Bunting, like that pain in the ass, grinder, high motor, not afraid to block shots, not afraid to do what it takes to win. I think the young kids call them glue guys. I think that's what they say. But I feel like his ceiling, could potentially be high. I mean, we've seen the setup ability. We've seen, some scoring opportunities. We've seen him in on the forecheck. If there's one thing this team needs, outside of, obviously he projects to potentially be on the first line, but I'm saying as a whole, this team needs some dog on bone, not afraid to go in the corners, get the puck, not afraid to get their nose dirty. And more of those guys, please, because I feel like that's what this team lacks. It lacks the toughness and it lacks the hardness to play against every night. And I feel like a guy like Emmitt Finnie is a tough guy to play against every single night. You start to build those guys, because I think Moritz Seider is a tough guy to play against. Ben Sherratt at times can be a tough guy to play against in terms of going in the corner and being physical. Edvinson's got a little bit of a mean streak to him. Like, you're starting to build this nucleus a little bit. And I feel like that is where even Marco Kasper, for him being in his really second year in the NHL, he's got a little bit of fuck you to him. You know what I mean? He's not afraid to go in the corners and get dirty. So the more of those guys you have, the better off you are. Look at the Florida Panthers. Yeah, they sure got some stars, but they're bottom six, and even their top six guys as well are not afraid to go in front of the net and take cross checks and draw penalties, and again get in on the forecheck and all that. So it's a copycat league, man. Like, the Florida Panthers are the model right now, is like it or not, and everybody on that team buys in. So that's kind of what your goal is at some point here.
What about a little bit of maybe not as heavy, I guess, hitting, but what about like a Nazem Kadri?
Yeah, that's a good comp. That's a good comp. I'd like
Maybe
to
like
see some.
Kadri goes off some seasons with like crazy like point totals. Normally is a little bit more level, like half a point per game. And I think that that's something Finney could get to, but I think it's the intensity with which they play and the how hard they play the game, not just physically, but like you said, going in and doing board battles, breaking up plays, relentless back check, really good forecheck. I think that is what Emmitt Finney's game is going to be, and he's shown it a lot. Now, of course, not tonight because he's half dead, but he's shown it a lot this preseason.
Well, and I mean that is something that you are going to have to run into this year, especially if you're Emmitt Finney. Like that is one of those things at this point in time. Like this is a condensed schedule. You're gonna play 3 games in 4 nights. You're gonna play back to backs. Like it's just the nature of the NHL in 2025-26 with the Olympics and everything else. It's going to be a condensed schedule. You're going to play a lot of hockey in a short period of time. And if you're the Wings, I feel like that's one of the reasons why they are putting Emmitt Finney to the test. Because if he is going to make this team, there are going to be nights where you're playing 3 and 4 nights and you're playing back-to-backs and travel and everything else. So it's one of those things. I wonder if they're just trying to not break them, but like, break them into, hey, you're not always going to be well rested. You're not always going to be perfect. You just got to go out there and play your game, even when you're not feeling the best. So I feel like that's something that they're trying to push the kid. I feel like.
Yeah, he just might do it. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. Word from our sponsor. We'll be right back to talk about a recent Max Bultman article and kind of our thoughts on the projected lineup. So give us 1 second. Word from our sponsors. We will be right back. Game on. Week 1 starts now, and every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. This isn't just football, it's first touchdown fireworks, anytime TD rushes, and live bets that ride every momentum shift. At DraftKings, every play is your next shot to win. Just like you can pick the Lions to win the Super Bowl and cross your fingers and hope that it happens. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Plus grab over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Your season starts now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more. Plus $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
During our quick break, I just want to tell everyone about something that's totally changed my mornings. Strong Coffee Company. If you're like me, you love your coffee, but you also want it to actually do something for you. This is the upgrade you've been looking for. Strong Coffee isn't your average cup of joe. It's an all-in-one instant blend made for people who care about their health and performance. You're getting 15 grams of grass-fed protein, 5 grams of MCTs for long-lasting energy, and adaptogens like ashwagandha and L-theanine to help you stay calm, focused, and productive without the jitters or crash. The black blend is bold and smooth, made from organic fair trade Arabica beans, and their lattes, they've got collagen, hyaluronic acid, healthy fats, the works. It tastes amazing and helps you feel sharper, sleep better, and just show up as your best self every day. And on top of all that, they're eco-friendly too, so you can feel good about what you're putting in your body and how it's made. Check them out at strongcoffeecompany.com and use our code GRINDLINE. That's strongcoffeecompany.com, promo code GRINDLINE at checkout for 20% off. That's GRINDLINE for 20% off your order. Give it a shot. I think you're going to love it. And we're back, and Max Bultman did release an article that's his projected lineup partway through the preseason, halfway through preseason, the projected lineup. And at forwards, he has top line left wing Emmitt Finnie, center Dylan Larkin, right wing Lucas Raymond, Alex DeBrincat, Marco Casper, Patrick Kane, Michael Rasmussen, Andrew Kopp, Mason Appleton, James Van Riemsdyk, JT Compher, Jonathan Berggren, with extra Elmer Soderblom. Now, I'm going to read. Now, he projected Finnie on the top line. He says, I certainly wouldn't put that in stone, though, as the second half of the preseason tends to separate what's real. He has more to prove. I'm not sure he has much more gas in the tank, though. However, either way, I think he has a real shot for one big reason. All of the other candidates to play next to Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond on Detroit's top line, his play style is the best suited to play with the Red Wings' top two forwards, which we mentioned before the break. It's that digging pucks out. It's that kind of heaviness that the top line lacks is what he provides. Finnie has shown he's willing to go down low and dig out pucks. He shows he hustles back defensively. He has shown that he can think the game well enough to play with two brilliant players, and he has indeed shown that he can skate with them. Head coach Todd McLellan is certainly talking in a way that suggests Finnie can stick around. Even more telling, Finnie is one of just two players McLellan has played next to Larkin and Raymond in camp, the other being Soderblom, who fell off. I agree with everything he says. I'm not sure I agree that Elmer Soderblom will be the extra, because I do think that he provides a lot of extras that guys like Berggren don't. He has good offense, but he also has size. He also has reach. He's not a slouch skater, things we've all mentioned in the past. But I like where the lineup is based on that projection for forwards.
And then I agree with you 100%. I think that with Finnie, I guess the biggest thing is there going to be enough offense there? Like, is there going to be enough offense for him to play with those guys? Like, is he going to be able to, put the puck in the back of the net? Really? I mean, is that like, obviously, I think he's got the motor. I think he's got the hockey sense. Does he have the ability to put the puck in the back of the net? And we'll find that out. I think. I believe he is going to be that first line winger to Raymond and Larkin. Because, I mean, we've seen Elmer Soderblom. Yeah, there's still some ascension. But he's probably a bottom six forward, right? In a pinch, you can throw him on the first line. But I feel like Emmitt Finnie has a higher ceiling than Elmer Soderblom. And this is kind of what I was thinking too. Like, remember before I was saying, if you're going to, get a rebuild off the ground and start to ascend, and I know they have, but they kind of plateaued a little bit last year, you're going to need your 7th round picks. You're going to need to hit on a couple of these guys. And obviously it's early. We don't know what Emmitt Finnie is going to become, but dude, if he's an impact player, I mean, that is a win. You take that and you run with it and you don't ask questions. A 7th round pick. What's the probability of a 7th round pick becoming
it's
an
like
impact
2%
player?
Or something?
Exactly. So, I mean, the fact that he's even in this conversation just gives you everything you need to know about the character of Emmitt Finnie, and then also about the development of the Wings, not to mention the scouting, because, I mean, a scout had to have seen something, so either way, I mean, I think that's kind of where we're leaning at this point. I mean, wouldn't you rather see something you don't know versus something that you think you know with Soderblom?
Yeah, I think if you look at it too, last season in Grand Rapids, he played 10 games, had a goal and 4 assists for 5 points. It was half a point per player in his first 10 games in the AHL. His season, he did play for Kamloops last season too, but I'm not sure I really take a lot from a 20-year-old playing in the WHL. He had 55 games played, 37 goals, 47 assists for 84 points. That is 50, 60, 70, 80, almost a 30 point increase from his previous season, which that is saying something. Anywhere a C, he's got leadership qualities to him as well. But Emmitt Finnie is a guy that, like, you say, well, does he have the offense in him? He's shown extremely high IQ setup during the first couple games of the preseason. He did score a goal, so he's got offense in him. And I think you let Raymond be the trigger guy on that line. Dylan Larkin, too, not a slouch scorer by any means, but Dylan Larkin is also a great setup guy who can also score. So Larkin is your dual threat, as to where I think you play Finnie as a really good setup because he is digging pucks out and finding those passes. and Raymond as your trigger guy who's just there to score goals.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, Raymond's your guy. That's your projected, hopefully 40 goal scorer at some point. He's everything with that. I think it's just got to be more consistent. I think that's really kind of what it comes down to for Raymond. Now, one question I do have for you regarding Finnie, why do you think he started the clock on his pro career when he could have gone to the NCAA and played a year or two? I think he's too old at 20. You think that's what it is?
I don't think he's too old. I just think that his progression has happened kind of fast. I think he's a guy that they're like, oh, well, what's he going to do? And you see the point totals jump and jump and jump every year in the W. And then you're like, well, we got to get him to Grand Rapids. Like, we're pulling guys out of Grand Rapids to play in the NHL. We're going to have some backfill. He's a guy who can fit that. And again, it might just be personal reasons. He might not have any interest in playing NCAA hockey. He might not have any interest in potentially extending his junior hockey career and waiting to go to and then saying, well, now you're going to spend a year in the AHL. Oh, now you're going to go to Detroit. By the time you hit Detroit, you're 23. I mean, if it looks like he has the talent and skill to honestly step onto the roster today if he needed to. And I don't know what happens behind closed doors, but it could just be a he's betting on himself kind of move.
Well, that's kind of the thing. And honestly, if that's the case, then that shows the kind of character that the kid has in the first place. Because, I mean, and you could have, I'm not saying that these guys are getting what football players are getting, but you could have got a decent little bag to play at Penn State or to play at Michigan or
free degree,
Wisconsin or whatever school that, NIL, Minnesota kind of thing. So, I mean, the fact that he's betting on himself and is going to be in the NHL potentially this year, I mean, should go to show you that it doesn't matter where you're drafted. It doesn't matter where you played. If you show the effort and you have the skill and you kind of combine the two, you can make an NHL roster or you can make an MLB roster. Or you can make an NFL roster. It's very similar when it comes to that. So, I mean, honestly, like I said, it's a win. Hopefully he becomes what we hope he becomes. And we go from there.
On defense, Max has Ben Sherratt and Moritz Seider as your top pair. I think that's what we had discussed this entire time. Unfortunately, there's not really a way to move Ben Sherratt off that top pairing yet. Second pair of Simon Edvinsson and Albert Johansson. It was mentioned that Albert Johansson did put on weight. He's at 195 this season, and hopefully he uses that size to his advantage. The question is, can Albert sustain the nightly pressure that's put on him for an entire season? I think he can. I think Albert, people try to tamp down expectations for him. They're like, he might just be a really good third pair. I think he might have second pair ability. He's going to have to until ASP is ready. So Albert's your second pair guy. Eric Gustafson and Justin Holl as a third pair, which I don't like, and has Jacob Bernard Docker and Travis Hamonic as extras. I would put Jacob Bernard Docker in it was the Buffalo game, had a really good setup. He went all the way around the net and then set up a goal. I do like what I've seen from him so far. Justin Holl just to me is like, I don't want preseason Justin Holl to make people forget what regular season Justin Holl does. Like, yeah, you're playing Justin Holl against a bunch of AHL guys. He's going to look better than he actually is. I would love to get the younger guy in there who I think has a chip on his shoulder and something to prove, because I think he thought he might be extended when he was traded and he wasn't. So we know what Justin Holl is on this team. I don't think we know what JBD is on this team, and I think we need to get him in the lineup. So I don't like JBD being an extra. Hamonic, I think, is an extra anyways in case there's an injury. So I would try putting Docker on a third.
I would almost rather see Hamonic than Holl.
Really?
I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but
I don't want to see Holl at all.
Okay, fair. That's why I'm saying I think I'd rather see Hamonic than Holl. I
want to see Jacob Bernard Docker instead of Holl.
Oh, I agree. But I also don't want to see Sherratt either, and we're gonna have to deal with that.
Listen, there's a lot of problem on defense still. That's
it is. It's frustrating. It really is. could you play? I'm not saying this is kind of thinking out loud. Could you play JBD on the first pair with Sider?
No, I think he's a right shot. That's why it was weird that Max had him on the
He's a right
left.
shot. Yeah.
I would play him just third pair with Erik Gustafsson. That's what I would do with that. Like, let Aljo take that second, or maybe even play him on the second pair with Simon Edvinsson, because Edvinsson has the ability to lock that down, and then you make Johansson a really, really good third pair defenseman.
Or Johansson with Sider.
Yeah. Albert, though, Albert's a natural. I think Albert's a lefty.
He's a lefty. You could play him on the left side.
Well, we had always said that Ben Sherratt would be just a really good third pair defenseman, which is where he should be. You just don't have the guy to do it. I just get kind of discouraged when you look at a lineup like this, and the guy that you just signed and who's young, and like I said, I think has something to prove, is listed as an extra.
Yeah, well, what I would do personally, and this is just me like kind of thinking out loud, I would go Sider, Aljo. I would go Edvinsson, Bernard Docker, and then Gustafsson and Hall, I guess. I don't like that, but Gustafsson and Sherratt. Play Sherratt on the right side, or Gustafsson on the right side. Whoever feels a bit more comfortable playing the right side as a lefty. I think that would be your best, because I mean, then you get Aljo minutes with Sider, who we know is the best defenseman on the team. It's not necessarily that close. And then you have Simon Edvinsson anchoring that second deep pairing with Bernard Docker.
Yeah, what Max says, he says, as for the third pair, I went with the duo Detroit rode down the stretch last season, Justin Holl and Erik Gustafsson. But there could certainly be some mixing and matching between those bottom four. Hamonic is a similar type of player to Holl and has a lot of experience, while Bernard Docker has some pedigree that will be worth looking at some point. I'm just going to say that point should be game 1 of the regular season.
I agree.
But Tyler, that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to get your final thoughts before we sign off.
Can we send Ben Sherratt to the Sun? Is that possible?
Next season when he's off the roster, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of UFAs after this year.
We're going to do a lot of this off season. If things go not like this past off season did, and everyone just resigns with their teams and everything sucks, should hopefully be an interesting off season. But that's what we've been saying for the past 2 seasons, and have been proven wrong. So,
well, I think at some point things have to give. I know the roster has kind of been shaken up already a bunch, but the back end not as much. I feel like the back end not as much. But yeah, final thoughts are glad hockey's just about back here. We got 10 more days until we kick this thing off, or we drop the puck for real. And I'm looking forward to it for sure. It won't be at the home opener, as I said on one of the prior episodes. So if any of you guys are going to the Tampa Bay game on the 17th, I believe it is, I will be there. Or 16th. No, it is 17th. I will be there, so come say hi. That's it. You can follow me on Twitter at SealDog91 or X.
I will be at the home opener, as will Ryan. And just a reminder that by the time this is posted, will be the last day to enter over on our Twitter to win a copy of NHL 26 for the PS5, thanks to our friends at EA. You can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. Follow Grindline Podcast online at Grindline Pod. Give a shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network and thank them for hosting us and spreading us around. The Vintage Detroit Collection, which is the only place you should get your Detroit jerseys from, and Work Down and Where we have an exclusive t-shirt collection. You can go check that out with more designs to come this season. You go there, click the Keep It Local tab, click the Grindline Podcast, and you will find everything there. I would love for everyone to go over to our YouTube, sub to us, and turn on those notifications. You will be notified every time an episode goes live. But that is going to do it for us. So for Tyler, I am Greg. You stay classy, Hockeytown.